Hi everyone, welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to be going over a tough question. So we're continuing to look at conflict. Our goal is that we can identify moments in the text that are going to hint at what's happening with the conflict. We looked at aha moments yesterday, so we're going to continue on with tough questions today. So tough questions, we have them all the time. It's when we come up against something and we ask ourselves a question like, how will I ever get over this? Or if there's a death in the family, that might be the question we go to. Or we ask ourselves when we have to decide something, what should I do? When people are peer pressuring you, you have to say, am I brave enough to say no? Or asking yourself why. A tough question is when you stop and you need to figure something out. We ask ourselves lots of questions that are not tough questions throughout the day, like what's for dinner, where are my shoes, do I really have to do my homework? So there's a difference between the two, and our goal is to see when these come up in a text. When a character stops and asks themselves a tough question, they're thinking about something that's really bothering them, and it's going to tell us about what's going on inside of them, what their internal conflict is. So by identifying tough questions, we're going to be able to see part of the conflict, usually the internal conflict. The easy part is that it'll usually have a question mark after it, so they're kind of easy to see. The hard part is figuring out whether it's a tough question or not a tough question. So tough questions are when you're reading and the character asks himself or herself a really difficult question. When this happens, the question you should be asking yourself is, what does this question make me wonder about? So when a character asks a tough question, you want to be thinking about, why are they asking this question? What might happen as a result of this question? What things are coming to mind? And then the answers to that question, the answer of what you're wondering about, will give you some insight into what might happen later in the story, and especially help you learn about conflict and internal conflict. So we're going to go through a couple of these, do a couple examples, and try to figure out if it is or is not a tough question. So for each one, I'll ask you the question, and then I'll give you a minute to think about it, and then I'll give you the answer. So what time is the game today? Is that a tough question or not a tough question? And this one would be not a tough question. There's not something super deep to it, just trying to figure out what's going on with our schedule. Why did I get left out? Tough question or not a tough question? And this one would be a tough question. The scenario might be is like everyone's deciding to do something together, you don't get invited, so you're trying to think about what's wrong with me or what's wrong with the group dynamics here. And that internal question, that tough question you're asking yourself, might give a little bit about who that character is or what's going wrong between them and these other people. I wonder if my brother or sister is home. Tough question or not a tough question? And this one would be not a tough question. Again, either they're home or they're not. It's kind of a yes or no question. There's nothing deeper to it. Let's try a different variation. I wonder if my brother or my sister loves me more. I would say this one is a tough question. You're definitely going to learn about those family dynamics there. You're going to learn about maybe what's going on with those relationships. It might tell you a little bit about the internal struggle that our person is having with this question. And our last one, why is everyone treating me this way? Tough question or not a tough question? And this one will fall in as a tough question. Again, thinking about your relation to others, thinking about what might be going wrong with you that's causing this to happen. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit like an expert in identifying tough questions versus not tough questions. We're going to move ahead and work on identifying this in a text. So again, we're looking for tough questions. When a character stops and asks themselves a tough question, we want to ask, what am I wondering about? So this is a text excerpt from A Long Walk to Water. I'm going to jump around a little bit in it, so to give you some background. It's about this character, Salva. He's an 11-year-old boy who lives in Sudan. His town has been raided and they are essentially on the run. He has been separated from his family. So we're going to read this first part and we're going to think a little bit about what are the tough questions that Salva is asking himself. Salva lowered his head and ran. He ran until he could not run anymore. Then he walked for hours until the sun was nearly gone from the sky. Other people were walking too. There were so many of them that they couldn't all be from the school village. They must have come from the whole area. As Salva walked, the same thoughts kept going through his head in rhythm with his steps. Where are we going? Where is my family? When will I see them again? So our first step is to identify those tough questions. Again, it'll feel easy when there's only a couple questions on there. It's kind of up to you to discern whether or not it is a tough question. These ones obviously are because we're using it for an example, but we have a whole string of them. Where are we going? Where is my family? When will I see them again? So once we've identified them, we want to think about our question. What does this question make me wonder about? So I'm this character, Salva. I'm walking on my own. My village has just been raided, so my home for my whole life is gone. I don't know where my family is, and there's this group of people that's walking with me. And I ask myself, where are we going? Where is my family? When will I see them again? So I'm starting to put myself in the shoes of this character. Like, I can't even begin to imagine how difficult this might be. And I'm starting to wonder about, like, what is this character going to do in this situation? These people around him, how are they going to be reacting to him? Like, does he become a part of this group, or is this group just happening to move in the same direction and he doesn't stay with them? So again, our goal with this is to move it over to post-it note work and then to track that throughout a story. So let me show you how I move this over to a post-it note. Again, I'm labeling what I'm doing, conflict, I'm looking at tough questions. Again, no page number, but trying to stick to it. Salva is worried about where are we going and his family. I'm wondering about where are we going and where his family is. I'm wondering if the group has any idea where it's going and if they'll help Salva or if he's more on his own than he realizes. So I'm starting to think about some of the conflicts that might be coming up with Salva. Again, thinking about tough questions is going to help me what comes up later in the story. Like, is he going to go look for his family? Is he going to stick with this group? How self-reliant is this person? So I'm going to continue reading. I'm going to jump to a little bit later in the story. He's been on his own for a little bit. He moved away from that original group, but he finds a new group of people. So we're going to see when he runs into this group, he's going to ask himself some more tough questions, and then we're going to think about our question. What does this make me wonder about? Sure enough, there are now 3 women giving water to the men on the ground. Like a miracle, the small amounts of water revived him. They were able to stagger to their feet and join the group as the walking continued. But their 5 dead companions were left behind. There were no tools with which to dig, and besides, burying the dead men would have taken too much time. Salva tried not to look as he walked past the bodies, but his eyes were drawn in their direction. He knew what would happen. Vultures would find the bodies and strip them of their rotting flesh until only the bones remained. He felt sick at the thought of those men, first dying in such a horrible way, and then having even their corpses ravaged. If he were older and stronger, would he have given water to those men? Or would he, like most of the group, have kept his water for himself? It was the group's 3rd day in the desert. By sunset, they would be out of the desert. And after that, it would not be far to the Etang refugee camp in Ethiopia. All right, so first job, the easiest one here, identify our tough questions, and we should see them at the end here. So it was, if he were older and stronger, would he have given water to those men? Or would he, like most of the group, have kept the water for himself? So again, we need to think, what does this question make me wonder about? There's 2 parts to that. How are you, like, kind of putting yourself in the shoes of this character? So, like, if I'm this person, like, I have no idea what it's like to be this thirsty. I have no idea what it's like to be in the desert. And then I'm thinking about my character. So he says, if he were older and stronger, would he have given water to those men? Or would he, like most of the group, kept his water for himself? So maybe I'm thinking about, again, internal conflict. Is he a strong enough person to help others? In the future of the story, is he going to help other people? Are they going to give up too much water that they're not going to survive? So I have a lot of questions that I'm starting to think about conflict. I'm also learning some about my character, so I have both of those things going on. All right, so we will do our last piece of reading from this, not too much farther ahead. Salva has found himself alone. Let's again identify our tough question and then think about what is it making us wonder about, and then link that to conflict. I'm alone now. I am all that is left of my family. His father, who had sent Salva to school, brought him treats, like mangoes, trusted him to take care of the herd. His mother, always ready with food and milk and a soft hand to stroke Salva's head. His brothers and sisters, whom he'd laughed with and played with and looked after, he would never see them again. How do I go on without them? But how can I not go on? They would want me to survive, to grow up and make something of my life, to honor their memories. So first we're identifying our tough questions. Again, we're looking at those question marks. How do I go on without them? But how can I not go on? So we have this internal conflict going back and forth of, do I continue to go on because I need to honor my family, or am I going to give up because this is just too hard? So again, we have that internal conflict, a big part to help us learn about character, but also to help us learn where we might be heading in the story. For the last two, I left that turning it into a post-it note step for you guys. I want to see what those actually look like for you. Take a look at my first one as your example. And then at this point, we've taken a look at two different strategies to identify conflict. We're looking at tough questions. Is those tough questions that a character asks themselves? And then we should say, what does this question make me wonder about? And then to jump back and review yesterday, we looked at aha moments, that moment when the light bulb goes off, a character suddenly realizes, understands, figures something out. We want to ask ourselves, how might this change things? These are kind of the two big things to keep in mind. Aha moment, how might this change things? Tough questions, what does this make me wonder about? The nice thing is that the names of both of these sound exactly what they are, so you don't have to remember too much. You more have to remember these questions. So when I see a tough question in there, I'm going to say, what does it make me wonder about? When I see an aha moment, I'm going to say, how might this change things? So the last thing you guys are going to do for this assignment is you're going to do a little bit of practice. There are a couple more text excerpts that I'm going to ask you with. We'll do longer practice. We're actually reading a full story. But for both of these, I'm doing the same thing. I'm giving you a brief summary of the text on the left. In the middle, I'm giving you an excerpt that I want you to work with. And then on the right, you're going to be answering that anchor question. How might this change things for the first one? And then what should I be wondering about? This is actually going to show up in a, let's see if I can write it, post-it note for you. So you're not actually going to fill out this box. I just set it up so you can kind of think through it. But you're going to make 4 different post-it notes. So you're going to make one for this excerpt. You're going to make one for this excerpt. I'm not going to read these for you. Just stop at this part in the slideshow. Keep it up on the screen. Read it as you make your post-it note. So text 1 is an excerpt from Esperanza Rising. Text 2 is an excerpt from the Watson's Go to Birmingham. And for both of these, we are looking at aha moment and trying to figure out how might this change things. Then you're going to do 2 more. Sorry, I'm cut off a little bit at the top, but it says pretty much the same thing, except for this time we're focusing on tough question and what does it make me wonder about. So it actually got cut off kind of in the perfect place. And these 2 text excerpts, one is from Among the Hidden, and the other one is actually the same text as the first one, Esperanza Rising. And then you're going to make a 3rd post-it note here and a 4th post-it note here. So you're doing 4 on this, 2 on the original. That's going to give you 6 total when you take a look at the actual assignment. That's exactly what it says. They're going to do 6 total post-it notes. And hopefully after today and yesterday, you'll feel more comfortable saying that I can identify moments in the text that hint at conflict. Those are our aha moments, our tough questions, and we will do a lot more practice with this. We'll do some direct reading with it tomorrow, and it'll kind of be on our minds a bunch the next week, but then also continuing to go forward. Like we'll use this strategy as we read the entire year.